Hello and welcome back to Golf North Wales on YouTube. Today we are, as you've seen in the previous video if you've watched it, which was playing with a full Nike bag, we're just going to go into a little more detail on the Nike Vapour metalwoods. They are quite old. Scott might be able to tell me, something like 2014, maybe 2013. So they are very old, but it's something that we always get asked about with Nike clubs and stuff because there's still a lot of buzz and a lot of interest that goes into them. So I have been on the range before coming on the course today. We've played 3 holes already. I'm not playing particularly well, but the clubs are performing just as well as I'd expect them to when I'm playing this way. So we'll just jump into the numbers that I was getting on the range with the driver. First of all, we're looking at an average carry of around about 220 to 230, which is about right for me, especially the way I'm swinging it at the moment. I say there have been times where I get it to 240, 250, but I think I could be swinging the biggest top of the range driver on the market at the moment and probably still only getting that. As for the metalwood, it's a 15 degree that I've got in my hand here, and I was carrying it 130 yards. 130 yards. As I said, I'm not playing particularly well, but we'll jump on to a few videos of me swinging on the range, and while we do that, we'll just go through some of the specs that Nike brought out when they brought the product out. Actually, Scott, it was brought out in 2016, believe it or not. The last iteration of clubs, but the 3-wood recommended retail was around about 180, and at the moment you can still expect to be paying somewhere around about £100 for them because they've just kept their value so much with golfers, with the nostalgia value really. They're designed for all sorts of golfers, low to high handicappers. It's a titanium, as you'll hear. Don't know if you can hear that. It's a titanium construction, but there's not much to say about it really. As for the driver, the driver we've got in our hands is the Vapour, which is the regular. There is the Vapour Pro, but I say it's not something you could really get tested for nowadays. But they come in all sorts of lofts. I do like the neck they've got, which is changing the face to go right, neutral, left, and anywhere from 8.5 degrees to 12.5 degrees, which is quite handy, especially given the fact that you're not going to be able to get custom fit for these anymore. But all in all, they don't perform any worse than a modern day driver does. One thing that is obviously worth mentioning is the fact it's bright blue. It's not for everyone's taste, but it certainly is for some people's taste, rocking up on the tee with a bright blue driver. But if there is any misconception that this driver isn't going to perform as well as something that's new to the market, I believe, I say Scott is in the buggy just hiding, but I believe the CT testing came in the early 2000s, and that hasn't changed. So the faces can be no more springy today than they could have been in the early 2000s. I say Nike obviously don't make clubs anymore, so they are holding their value rather well, just given the fact that people want hold of them because they feel they might be valuable in the future. The general consensus with Nike metalwoods is they've never really made a good one, but also then again from the pros and people who do more in-depth club reviews than myself, because I say I'm an amateur golfer, so don't take anything as gospel, but they said this was probably the only one of their metalwoods that they were kind of getting on the right line with, where they were bringing themselves up to the same standard as some of the bigger brands who are known for metalwoods. So it's a big shame that obviously they stopped making clubs, but if you can find them cheap enough and you do want Nike clubs in the bag, there's really no reason you shouldn't.